I think you were more this way.
That was, yeah, there.
Thank you.
All right, these are more EP related. So what was the hardest part about starting over in EP as a second career? Because I can empathize with people, but I have not experienced that. Because when I went to a cath-based program, I worked in the cath lab. But I get a lot of people who message me that are 15 years into their career as a medic, 15 years into their career as a rad tech, and are scared to make the change and don't know how to learn again. Because I feel like it's a very big ego blow when you were the go-to person to then constantly feel less than, almost, and behind. So how was that experience and your advice?
It is not for the faint of heart. If you are a person who needs to feel important, I'm the go-to, because I was the go-to in respiratory. I was the go-to in the EP lab, eventually, not when I started. But if you struggle with that and you're like, I need to be the most important person, or I need to be the go-to person, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you're
not going to be there right
You're
away.
not going to be there, and that it's not even realistic. If you can, though, be humble and be observant and want to learn, be hungry for knowledge, want to be challenged, and don't feel like that you have to be the most important or the go-to or any of those things, then you should do it. Is it scary? Absolutely. Absolutely. But is it so scary that it has prohibited me to do it again? Multiple times? No. I did it leaving respiratory going into EP, and then I did leaving the hospital going into education, and then leaving education to currently what I'm now doing with you.
Yeah.
Like these are
Very
all
different
very
things.
different things. Like, and I always chuckle when people say, "What do you do?" And I'm just like, well, because I don't know how to answer.
A little bit of everything.
I have done so many pivots, and it's scary, but it's not so scary that it's prohibited me from doing it again.
Yeah, it's more a mental thing than like you're probably going to be able to do it. It's, are you willing to be uncomfortable to get there?
Correct. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. But that's the whole thing about growth. You're never going to grow if you're never uncomfortable. If you always stay comfortable, then you're not growing.
Yeah.
You're not challenging yourself. You're not growing. You are status quo, and you are not going to ever change. So any growth comes from outside. I know it's cliche, but it comes from outside your comfort zone.
Well, that's, I'm sure anybody who started that first career, like you felt that way.
Yeah.
You didn't go into respiratory knowing what you
Nobody
were doing.
goes into anything being the expert,
Right.
being the go-to person.
And people say, well, you know,
have to learn
well, I
it.
went to a program. Okay, but your first day in clinical.
Let me tell you, I went to a respiratory program, but I went to my first job every single day sitting in my car praying, "Dear Lord, please don't let me kill anybody today."
Yeah.
I did that for a month
Yeah.
after I started working. And then when I went into the EP lab, "Dear Lord, please don't let me screw up today."
Yeah.
Because, and that's what I always told my students. I don't want to hear you complaining about, I got checkoffs and I'm so scared and I'm this and I'm that and I didn't have time to practice, because that's all a bunch of baloney, because I know that you had time to practice. And I'm here to tell you, I have no sympathy for any of it, because I didn't have checkoffs.
Yeah.
I did
Your
it on a
checkoff was a real patient.
real live patient the first time. And let me tell you, did I mess up? Yep, sure did. Did I make the same mistakes over again? No, I did not. If you make a mistake, you learn from it. You don't repeat it. But yes, absolutely scary. Nobody is the go-to. Nobody is the expert at the beginning. But you have to be willing, and I am a major mindset person.
Yeah.
If you have a negative mindset, you will not have a positive outcome.
Yeah.
If you have a negative mindset, you're going to have a negative outcome. You are what you focus on. You are what you believe. You are what you speak. So you have to go in there and I hate the phrase to fake it till you make it, but sometimes you have to pep yourself up and tell yourself, I got this. I'm going to be good at this. I'm not going back there, so I only have one choice, and it's forward. I had a segment of my life where I decided I was going to run, and I had never ran. And I started with Couch to 5K, and then I did
to 5K.
It's an app. It's a thing.
Oh, I was like, I thought you meant like physically sitting in the couch, and I'm gonna go run a 5K.
No, there was an app, and it was called
mile?
Couch to 5K. So every day it would tell you what you needed to do, and you would run, walk, and you would do that. So anyway, so I started out. So I did, my first one was a 5K, and then my next one was a 10K, and then I did a 10-miler, and then I did a half marathon. And I'm here to tell you,
it's kind of the same concept. Well, it is the same concept.
It is the same concept. And you build and you get, anything I've ever done, there's never been a plan B. There's never been And when you're running and you see that mile marker 8 sign and you got your half marathon is 13.1, what do? You're tired, you're exhausted. You can only look forward. You don't turn around and look back like, wow, I've been 8 miles. I'll just go back that way. No, you go forward.
Coming to get you.
You go forward. You just put one foot in front of the other, and you keep going and you keep going. Never in any of those things, in any of those runs or anything I've ever done, have I ever thought, I'll just go back. It was never an option. I'm going to the finish line. And I just do. And so don't focus on that. And sometimes when you're running, you're like, I swear I've seen that mile marker 8 3 times already. You keep going. And then when you get to the finish line, you get to that 13.1, you're like, I did it. No. I made it. I did it. I didn't give up. I didn't back down. And I got
because it'll happen eventually.
It will happen eventually.
It takes 3 months or a year.
And for some people, that's what they say. But how long does it take? I don't know. It depends on how you learn. It depends on how much you put into it. It depends on how bad you want it. It depends on how bad you don't want to go back to the... There's a lot of factors. It depends on your health. It depends on if you have kids. It depends. There's so many things. I can't say what it is for everybody.
And you can't compare, okay, it took her this long, why is it taking me this long? Well, especially in these procedural areas, everyone's background is so different. It's very rare you're going to find someone with the exact same path that
it'll never be. And it depends, like my journey was different. That lab that I went into was crazy busy. We had 2 labs and 1 primary physician, 2 other EPs, but we did tons and tons and tons of cases in those 2 little labs. If you work in a lab that only does 3 cases a day, it's going to take you way longer.
Or less.
We did 12 cases a day in 2 labs with only 6 people.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question from someone who wanted to ask this of leadership, and I thought it was a good idea. Multi-modality labs that do cath EP and IR, and they really are pushing them to learn EP. They want to grow their EP program. From a leader perspective, I know you worked at the larger hospital. Is it helpful or no, because people do things so differently, that that person at that satellite site should really come and do EP, if not full-time, at least half-time at a higher volume facility? They'll learn more in a quicker set of time than staying where they are.
Yes, that's how I learned. Because remember the orientation period, Monday through Friday from start to finish. The more that you are entrenched, the more that you are in it, the more you see, the more you learn, the faster you learn, the more you retain, the more repetition you see. So yes, they need to be submerged.
Yeah.
Which is
not
why
just one a week.
Right, which is why you never see EP labs hire PRN people. They're only going to take a full-time person and turn them into a part-time person, or a full-time person and allow them to be PRN because they already have experience. Right. You cannot learn EP PRN.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to really learn anything part-time. You got to do it
but
full
definitely
force
not EP.
Yeah.
It's a complete submersion. You have to submerge, eat, sleep, breathe it. if you're going to learn it. If you're going to learn it and be good at it, you have to submerge.
Versus just like being able to scrub, then
Right.
fine,
If
but-
you're just trying to be like, I'm just trying to go through the motions and I just,
because we do
need
it
to
one
get
day a
out
week.
of here.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. But no, if you want to learn it, expand, be good at it, you have to submerge yourself.
Well, if leadership at a satellite hospital expects their program to grow,
then
I feel
they
like
have
you need
to
that.
then they have to invest the time that those people need to be taken away from their site and put at a full-time high volume EP site, so that when they come back, they're valuable
Yeah,
to the rest of the team.
yeah. And I
And
hear that.
so
We
many
can't take them out of staffing, but they're going to leave. So then they're really out of staffing, if they're not successful
not only
and don't
that,
feel fulfilled.
not only that, but then they may end up leaving anyway because they will feel inadequate. You're placing them or forcing them to go into EP, but yet you're not giving them the time that they need to be adequately trained. And so therefore, if they feel inadequate, they're going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, I'm not safe, I don't feel competent, and yet they're forcing me into this. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so if you're not
Or they're
willing,
going to hate it because that's their first experience.
yeah,
Is trial by fire by themselves, not having, especially if you're just starting a program. Maybe you have someone come over who is experienced, but it doesn't mean they know how to teach all these people. That's a completely different thing to demand from someone.
not everybody who knows what they're doing can effectively teach.
Or wants to.
Correct.
I mean, they might have gone there to just go to kind of a slower EP lab, not necessarily build up your whole program and all your people. That might not
Right.
be what they're looking for. Because we didn't, I know you did go into leadership and it was kind of intentional. What advice do you have for someone debating between staying in clinical versus choosing to move into leadership? Because a lot of people have an open position and they're like, well, I want to take it because someone really bad might come along and change what we have. But I don't know if that necessarily sets you up for happiness.
I have seen that happen. We're just afraid of what we'll get external, so let's just get an internal person. I've seen all kinds of takes on that. One of the takes that I experienced, our position was open, was, why don't you do it, Shawna? And I'm like, I'm not really sure that I want to. What if we don't get a great person? Or what if they hire somebody external? At least with you, we would know what we get. Okay, so I had that. I had the flip. I had, no, we don't want Shawna to take it because that pulls her out of the lab. So, albeit that's very nice, that's a flattering compliment, to think that I'm so valued to people in the lab that they don't want to see me exit the lab because they feel comfortable with me in the lab and they feel like
those
I
are the people
teach.
you want in the position, but you don't want to.
That you don't want to have in the lab because those are the people that will have your back if you need it, or can teach you what you need to know, or that are dependable, reliable, or just maybe I'm just a fun time. Hopefully I'm all those things. But sometimes it's physicians that say that. No, she can't leave the lab. Had that too. Which, that's not fair either. Because what if the person really wants to try leadership? What if they really want to do leadership? Why are you saying and downplaying, no, you can't have her, she can't leave the lab, if it's something that they want to do to expand their career or their growth? I don't think that's right either. For me, it wasn't the right move. Could I do the job? Yes. Did I do the job? Yes. And I can tell you, if you're somebody who seeks validation outside of your own self, which I don't, but there are a lot of people that do. If that's what you're looking for, do not do management. Because if there was something that somebody told me and I was like, right on. If you're in management, any level management position, supervisor, manager, whatever, lead, if everybody loves you, you are not doing your job.
Yeah.
Most people didn't like me. Why? Because I did the job. And I did the stuff and had the hard conversations and did the write-ups and did the counselings because I'm not going to tolerate that stuff. Yeah. You know what the rules are. This is my job. You're not doing yours, and so therefore we have to sit down and have a counseling or a conversation. I don't shy away from that stuff. I can do those things. I have, it's not my fault. It's your fault because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It's not my fault that I'm writing you up. It's yours, and I would have these conversations. If you can't handle that, then you definitely aren't cut out for leadership.
I feel like it's very hard to do in a lab where you came from because you have established relationships. It is harder, and that was my scenario. It is harder because you also have to be business. Unbiased. Yeah.
You have to be
can't have
all professional.
Can't make exceptions.
You can't do favoritism. You can't do, well, this was my friend or I'm going to do this. None of that. You have all that has to be left out at the door. You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the policies. You have to have the hard conversations. You have to tell people when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah. People don't love hearing that. And, and they're going to, most of the time, every now and then, I did have one employee who was like, I know, just give me the paper. Like, I know you're doing your job and I get it. But the most of the time, they think they're not in the wrong.
Yeah, and it's personal.
And they're obviously in the wrong. If you weren't in the wrong, I couldn't be writing you up. Terminations are hard. Terminations are hard because, you don't want to see people lose their livelihood. You don't want to see them lose their paycheck. But you've now been written up so much for the attendance policy. You're letting your team members down. You're in the excess. We've written you up. Now we're to this stage and have to be terminated for that. So, there's going to be those people that blame you, people that don't see it your way, people that hate you. And you would, on the flip, have people who did follow the rules who would appreciate you.
Yeah.
And they would come and say, I know this is a thankless job, but you're doing a good job. Those were very few and far between. But people who follow the rules, they get tired of taking up the slack of other people that aren't doing their job and pulling their weight. And so they appreciate when there's a leader that takes care of that stuff and nips it.
It's so hard for you to ask more of that person who does follow the rules all the time when there's no consequences for anything of people who
Correct.
don't. So, why am I going to go above and beyond when people do the bare minimum and get rewarded?
Exactly.
Or less, don't even show up.
Yeah.
No call, no show, and get rewarded.
Exactly. So could I do the job, and did I? Yes. And yes, I can do the hard conversations. For me, I felt like it was wrong choice for me because I am very patient advocate focused, and that took me out of the lab to do that. I do think I do train people, and I'm a good preceptor, and that took me away. I think that was another one of my strengths. That took that part away. And I feel like middle management is so difficult in the hospital. Supervisors and managers of departments, they have authority, but they don't have enough authority because the people, the CEOs and the CNOs and the CFOs, they're all beating down on you constantly. And you don't have enough authority to make true change happen, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, is to try to make some change happen. And you don't.
It's not a high enough
You don't
level.
have it. You're not high enough to have that authority. And so that you feel like a lot of times I felt like I was spinning my wheels and I was getting nowhere. And so because of the things that I did enjoy and that were my strengths of patient advocacy, that was gone. The precepting, that was gone. And now I wanted to make changes, but I have all these senior people and they're not allowing it. That was gone. To me, it felt very negative. And I'm not a negative person. So I just felt like every day was just more negative, more push down from the top, more, we need to lower these numbers. We need higher productivity. We need higher utilization. And that was stuff I could give to about.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, a real life clinical team-based person doesn't. That's not what your main prerogative and pain points are, and that's not your team's main pain points.
Right. We want to take care of the patient. We want to take care of the patient. We want to make sure the patient is safe. We want to make sure we have competent people in here. Those were my force. Those were my strengths. Those were the things that I wanted. And those people above you, they don't care. They don't care. They only care about the dollar. Yeah. And it was so negative. I just felt drained.
Yeah.
I felt so drained, and I felt like I wasn't making a difference. And I was like, this is, and managing people, I can do it, but is it something that I want to do again? No. And you know that because when I was in the program director position, like, you have to manage students, and you have to have those conversations with students when you're the program chair, and you have to counsel people. And yeah, I can do all that, but I don't, it's like, oh.
It's no one says like, I want that to be my job.
Yeah.
Or you go do HR, if
Right,
that's what
exactly.
you want to be your job.
And it's not for everybody.
Most of the people who are very good at those things naturally, like maybe they're not great clinicians, maybe they're not, like, patient advocates aren't who they are, because there are some people that's just not, like, they don't care. It's not in their value system.
Right.
But they're in healthcare. Maybe that's for them, but 90% of the time it's like a stepping stone to something else. They're doing
Right.
it to get leadership management experience to then go in industry and do management that way. You can be an impactful leader in certain positions, but it's so based on who your above and below is.
Yes.
When you're in the middle.
Yes.
It's the
And
only thing that can
I can tell you, I had an amazing manager.
Mm-hmm.
She was great. But it was the senior leaders that were our issues, that tied our hands on so many things. And everybody knows there's also physician issues. Honestly, the physician issues were way more challenging to deal with than
Well, that's your more everyday.
Yeah, and staff issues to me were way easier to deal with than physician, because they're just on a whole nother level. And then the senior execs always take their side.
Yeah.
And your hands are tied on so many things. So for me, it just wasn't what I wanted. I didn't feel fulfilled. I did the job, but did I feel fulfilled and rewarded and full from it? No. I felt drained and
Well, sometimes I'm like, what's the
negative.
point? If you just want managers to say what it is you're trying to say.
If you're just
from
wanting
above.
yes people,
Yeah.
and I'm not a yes person, you know that. If you're a yes person and they just tell you what to do and you say, okay, yeah, then you can, all day long. I'm a fight back. I'm a stand up for what I believe in, and which is why when they were like, we need you to cut 5 people, and I'm like,
Yeah. Well, that's why
I'll be number one,
honestly,
because I'm not
healthcare
doing this.
was hard for me. Once I realized it was a business, and
It is
I had a manager
such a
who
business.
was more appeasing to higher level, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I can't do that. And there was so much conflict. I felt conflicted. I was like, am I a bad clinician because I'm trying to advocate for my patient? Like, why do I feel like I'm the enemy? And it's versus that exact same place with a completely different manager. I never felt that way. And it's just like, whoever it is you're reporting to really makes or breaks how you can perform at your job. And what the rest of the team thinks. Because, like, the staff can love you as a manager, and then the higher-ups hate you because you're a problem. You're going to be a problem on one end.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to kind of choose. Do I want to be a staff-centric leader and deal with these people hating me, or do I want to do
But those
this
people are the ones that do your eval.
and
So
there are future
it's
job
like-
opportunities.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's to the point where I was at the college. This
Is the problem.
is the problem, not this.
Yeah.
This is the problem. And I felt conflicted, and that's why I'm like, it's time now for me to go, because I felt like I am so unequally yoked here. Like, it's time for me to go. It is conflicting, and that's not the way you want to show up, and that's not what you want to have to do your everyday.
Well, you advocate
Seeing.
to people. I want you to be happy and, choose your path and blah, blah, blah. And then you not walking the walk is kind of hard to do when you're coaching and mentoring other people to do that.
Exactly.
Social media education. So this is Shawna. She runs the Don't Miss the Hiss page. I chime in when it's relevant to me, but if it's anything else, I'm like, let me wait for her to answer, because I don't know enough to answer questions. How does teaching in the classroom compare to teaching on social media? Because I definitely can say, from my perspective, it's completely different.
Completely.
I didn't know how to do it, but I figured it out.
I don't know how to do
But
it.
it's very.
I've been doing it since November, but
What have you noticed is different?
I feel like I'm a little bit better with the tech than I was, because I'm not a tech. I'm not of the social media era.
You are now. Welcome to it.
I know. It is very different than the classroom. Partly because there's no face-to-face interaction. In the classroom, I know if people are getting it. I can tell by their face. I can see the...
Yep.
I know. You can't see them on the other side of social media. So you don't know if it's working, if it's not working, if you're connecting or if you're not connecting. Yeah, you can do little polls and quizzes and you can be like, oh yeah, they got that, or oh no, they didn't. Wow, okay. And it's the same thing, like in the classroom setting. If you give an exam and you think you covered it fairly well, and then you're like, everybody's missing question 15. Apparently, I did not do that justice. So you have to reflect at yourself and say, okay, well, is it them or is it me? And did I not cover it adequately? Did I miss something? What was the disconnect? And you don't have that social media aspect. So it is, in my opinion, it's very, very different.
I don't know how much of you've gotten of it yet, but for me, even though I did work in 2 different labs, when you're an educator in a program, by default, you see how many different labs operate just based on clinical sites, especially when they're not clinical sites that you've worked at. Have you experienced that yet, or found that surprising or difficult of how different people do things?
Oh no, because I know how different and vast they are. Because of, had I not worked in 2 different labs in 2 different states and different physicians, and I already knew that for myself, but then seeing the clinical sites from working in a program and having all these different clinical sites, and you see things like a student would do over here and they would call you about, and you'd be like, if they were at any other site, that wouldn't be an issue. Or they do this, so no, I have had people DM from the stories, or, oh, well, that's not our experience. And it may not be your experience, and you might very well do it different. And also the time. You guys are doing things now in EP that I didn't do. And so I'm learning the newer things of EP now from the outside.
Which is really weird, isn't it?
Which is very difficult. Very difficult, because I'm like, what? Because I know what we did and how we did it, and I know that things evolve and change. But when you're not in the lab clinically every day, seeing it in action, it's way harder to conceptualize when you're trying to learn it on your own. However, I learned cath all on my own.
That's why I chose you.
You just
I know you know how to figure it out.
To do, it's just a little bit more challenging.
Yeah. And you have to remember, anything you present, some people messaging you, they are learning that for the first time too, and are not seeing it. Like a lot of people taking even the RCIS or the RCES, there's stuff on it that they have to learn to be able to test on that they are never going to see. And it's difficult, but you can empathize a little bit because you're doing it right now. But you're like, yeah, all of us are learning PFA for the first time, and we've never actually seen it besides like live stream cases, but it's not exactly the same. And some people have to learn that and literally are not going to see it, and they have to figure it out. What has surprised you so far teaching on social media besides the tech stuff? It is much harder than it looks.
Oh, the tech stuff is awful. It's awful. Especially for me, because I have the tech cloud.
I've been doing it a year, right?
Almost
Over a
November.
Year?
We started November. Okay. So this November would be
a
year.
365 straight days of posting.
Yeah. It's almost November, yeah. So yeah, we started in November. I would say, I think how quickly people joined in, like how many people participate, how many people engage. I didn't anticipate that.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I
was like, maybe eventually.
And I honestly definitely didn't anticipate that from a faceless perspective, because I'm not like you. I'm not out there doing videos and reels and showing my face and all of that. This is the first time they're seeing this. And a lot of it is because of the tech, and a lot of it is because I simply don't know how to do some of that stuff. And a lot of it is because of my dislike of my
Insecurities.
of my accent. So
They have tech for that now. We can change your accent.
can you change my accent?
What's the biggest misconception new learners have about EP?
The biggest misconception new learners have about EP, how in-depth it is. They don't realize.
A lot of people think it's boring, but I think it's because you don't know what's going on.
No, it's not boring. Now, it's not for everybody, but it is so deep and so vast. Nothing is black and white. And a lot of people really struggle with that because you can't give them just a concrete answer. And they want a concrete answer, and it's not that way.
It's not black and white.
It is not. So I think just the sheer substance of EP, how deep it really is. People think, oh, well, I'll just, learn this. No. No. And when people start in the EP lab and they're like, what do you mean it's going to be a year before I have a clue? That's
normal.
That's normal. I was above normal, but also, once again, very high volume, and I did the Monday through Friday, daylight to dark,
And I'm sure their expectation of you wasn't to learn it that quickly.
No, it wasn't.
That was your own expectation of yourself.
That was just me, because I was diving in and I was doing a lot and I was hungry and I wanted to learn. I wanted to be good at it and I didn't want to go back there. It was a lot of factors, but for the most part, if you've been in a year and you're able to be comfortable in one modality of EP and understand some of the foundational conceptual things, then you're on the right track. We all want to, be the top-notch expert level 10 of the game, whatever, when you first get there, but that's not realistic.
Yeah, it's a long game.
Yes.
Like instant gratification on my video games.
Which
Those that take the long way, I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have to go through this whole story
like
mode?
all of America. All of America is instant gratification, and we want it now, we want it yesterday, and that is not how EP, that's not how it works.
You can get there, and then when you get there, it's so impressive how much you've learned. And
what you've learned and how much you've learned, and looking back on it.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta,
completed the
you
campaign.
have to allow the time.
Patience.
Yes.
And remind other people who think you're supposed to learn it really quickly that they're the exception. It might take you a little longer.
There are some exceptions to the rule out there, for sure.